Wait, is that a Mirage 2000? Did Gaijin just give France a good top tier aircraft? Oh, we've got to check this out. Come on, y'all. The development program for the Mirage 2000 was technically a backup to a backup program. It all began in 1965 when France partnered with Britain to develop the AFVG, or Advanced Fighter Variable Geometry. France would pull out after 2 years due to cost concerns, though. Instead, France decided to work on an indigenous swing wing design based off the Mirage F2 that was named the Mirage G8. Development would continue into the 1970s but was starting to incur major cost overruns. So in 1972, Dassault began studying ways to improve the Mirage 3. By 1975, the Mirage G8 program would be officially cancelled due to extreme cost overruns and over-engineering of the project. Instead, the French Air Force would pursue Dassault's upgraded Mirage 3, which they would designate the Mirage 2000. Initial requirements were put forward in March 1976, and development would go fairly smoothly, and the maiden flight of the first prototype would take place on the 10th of March 1978. The first production variants of the Mirage 2000C would start rolling off the line in 1982. The Mirage 2000C featured a more powerful engine, better radar, better missiles, an improved air-to-ground capability, and a fly-by-wire control system when compared against the older Mirage 3s it was based on. The Mirage 2000 would go on to have some success in the international market, with 8 foreign countries buying the aircraft. In total, 600 aircraft were built during the Mirage 2000's production run, which lasted until 2007. The Mirage 2000 has seen plenty of combat since its introduction, however, it's yet to claim a confirmed air-to-air kill. There is a disputed claim between Turkey and Greece. Turkey claims that a Greek Mirage 2000 shot down one of their F-16s, but Greece claims that the F-16 crashed due to engine troubles. While it's yet to gain a confirmed air-to-air kill, it has proven itself a very capable air-to-ground platform. It's thanks to this solid air-to-ground capability that was expanded in later modifications. That is why the Mirage 2000 will continue to serve in many countries that still operate it. In War Thunder, we get the Mirage 2000C-S5. This is equipped with a 2000C-S5 RDI radar. This is a multi-mode radar with all the bells and whistles you would expect from a fourth-gen aircraft like IFF, BVR, and ACM capabilities. The radar has 3 search modes, which include Pulse, Pulse Doppler, and TWS. The radar has several separate scan settings depending on what mode you're in. While in either the Pulse or Pulse Doppler mode, the radar can swap between a 120x10, 60x10, or 30x10 scan setting. TWS uses a different set of settings that include a 120x3, a 60x3, and a 30x3. All modes have access to a large selections of range presets that include 11, 23, 57, 115, and 230 miles. The ACM mode has access to both a pulse and pulse Doppler setting that you can freely switch between even when you have someone locked up. The 11-mile range for the ACM is also really good, as you won't have to worry about whether someone is outside of your ACM lock range when using it. On top of that, the ACM gets access to 3 scan settings: a narrow 3x3, a vertical 5x30, and then a big old chonky 20x20. For defensive avionics, the Mirage 2000C is equipped with an AN APR-25. This is an American RWR that can be found on planes like the F-4J and F-105D. So it's a solid RWR that won't let you down. Other than that, there's not much to distinguish it from many of the other American RWRs, as their implementation in game is bare bones. Apart from the RWR, the Mirage 2000 gets access to 90 countermeasures after researching the corresponding Rank 1 modification. A solid amount of countermeasures that'll be enough for most matches. The final defensive system available to the Mirage 2000 is an engine fire extinguisher. This is a Rank 4 modification that'll allow you to put out an engine fire. I've yet to research this module before I made the video, however, there hasn't been a time I felt it would have come in handy. In top tier battles, when you get hit, you're generally dead anyway, whether you be able to put out an engine fire or not. The final thing to mention here is that the Mirage 2000 gets access to a full ballistics computer that includes CCIP for your bombs, rockets, and guns, along with CCRP for the bombs. Moving over to weapons, the Mirage 2000 gets access to 250 kilogram dumb bombs and SNEB unguided rocket pods. Despite ostensibly being a multi-role aircraft, the Mirage 2000 doesn't carry enough bombs or rockets to kill a base, and you lack any precision-guided weapons for close air support and ground battles. So really look elsewhere if you want to go ground pounding. The Mirage 2000 gets a strong selection of air-to-air missiles that start off with a pair of Matra R550 Magic 1s. This is a 35G rear aspect heat seeker that can reach speeds up to Mach 3. Honestly, this is probably the best stock missile available at the moment. When you're within 1.5 miles of your target, the missile is going to hit unless they deploy countermeasures. After researching the Rank 2 modification, you can get access to the Matra Super R530F. This is a 28G SAR missile capable of speeds up to Mach 4.5. All of that sounds good so far, however, unlike a majority of other radar missiles at this BR, the 530F uses a pulse seeker head. This means it is extremely prone to chaff. If your target has a functioning brain and presses the countermeasure button when their RWR lights up, you can pretty much consider that missile you just fired useless. If you don't want to carry this missile around, I wouldn't put it past you, but 2 more missiles is at least 2 more missiles. You could still use them for netting some more SL and RP at the end of a match by killing AI planes. Thankfully, you get access to a much better SAR missile at rank 3 in the Matra Super R530D. This is a 30G missile capable of reaching speeds up to Mach 5. The sustainer motor on the 530D also lasts for 8 seconds compared to the 530F's 4. This allows it to be a little more effective at longer ranges despite its heavier weight. However, the biggest difference between the two is the fact that the 530D uses a CW type seeker. This gives it a much higher tolerance to chaff and makes getting kills a lot easier. The missile can be notched now though, but it's a worthwhile trade-off in my opinion. Generally, if you launch on someone within 8 miles, you can expect the missile to hit most of the time. The 530D is definitely a breath of fresh air for French players as they finally have a solid SAR missile to complement their top-notch IR missiles. Speaking of IR missiles, the final missile you get access to at rank 4 is the best in the game at the moment, at least in my opinion. The Matra R550 Magic 2 is a 35G all-aspect heat seeker that can reach speeds up to Mach 3. This is basically just an all-aspect Magic 1, but what makes this missile so good is that it actually has flare resistance. This missile will routinely ignore flares no matter how many your target deploys. Now, this is more conjecture from my own experience, and I haven't really tested this to find out, but I wouldn't be surprised if the missile ignores flares about 80 to 90% of the time. My friends that also have the plane tend to agree with that, so hopefully I'm not completely pulling this out of my ass. Basically, once fired at someone within 1.5 miles, it's about as sure as a kill as you're going to get currently. When it comes to cannon armament, the Mirage 2000 is armed with 2 30mm DEFA 5.54 cannons with 135 rounds per gun for a grand total of 270 rounds. The guns have a fire rate of 1,800 rounds per minute, so you'll have a trigger time of about 4.5 seconds. These guns are a little hit and miss at times. Sometimes they'll just absolutely delete a plane, other times you'll get several hits and they'll do nothing. Their velocity isn't the greatest, so getting the right lead can be difficult. Overall, some pretty mediocre guns for top tier. Now the stock grind on the Mirage 2000 is surprisingly bearable. You get solid acceleration and good maneuverability right out of the gate, and it's generally enough for you to be able to beat F-14s in one circle. And you get 2 very good stock missiles that can easily net you a kill or 2 each game. As for modifications, just my usual, you want to grab your countermeasures and missiles first, then your flight modifications, and then you can wrap up the rest of the weaponry modifications. The Mirage 2000C-S5 is powered by a single Snecma M53P2 afterburning turbofan engine that produces 9,690 kilograms of force in afterburner and 6,200 kilograms of force dry. This powerful engine on the lightweight airframe gives the Mirage 2000 superb acceleration and improved energy retention that allow it to overcome a lot of the performance problems faced by its predecessor, the Mirage 3. While you will still bleed airspeed quickly in sustained turns, it takes noticeably more time to do so than in the Mirage 3, and you can much more quickly get back up to speed thanks to the greater acceleration. Do be careful at low altitude though, as the Mirage 2000 can rip its wings off in afterburner. From my testing, the wings will rip at around Mach 1.17 on the deck. When it comes to maneuverability, the Mirage 2000 is one of the best one-circle fighters at top tier. Just about anything you face you can comfortably turn inside of. Your roll rate is also pretty good, meaning you can easily dominate in a rolling scissors fight. Do be careful not to get dragged into a two-circle rate fight though, as you're still a Delta Wing fighter that will struggle to keep up against other top-end fighters. The stack card climb performance of the Mirage 2000 is kind of on par with other top-tier fighters, though in practice I find it to actually be a lot better. My reasoning for this is that the top-notch acceleration allows you to build up speed much faster than other jets after takeoff before you can quickly zoom climb up to altitude. As for fuel consumption, it's pretty average. 20 minutes will get you through most games on normal-sized maps, and on easy maps you can bump that up to 30 minutes if you don't want to RTB as often. Moving on, let me walk y'all through how I typically play the Mirage 2000. For weapons, I'll rock 2 Magic 2s and 2 530Ds. After takeoff, I immediately level off to build up speed until around Mach 0.9, when I'll then pitch up to 30 degrees and zoom climb up to between 20 to 25,000 feet, where I'll then level off. You will need to keep your eyes peeled for any phoenixes coming your way as you climb up. If you do spot some headed your way, all you have to do is simply turn and put the missile directly behind you for a few seconds before turning back in. Once you're headed towards the opposing team, I like to look for targets using the TWS mode and manual radar controls. This will allow you to get a visual of where exactly the enemy is without needing to fully lock them or point your nose all over everywhere. Typically, I'm looking for any enemies that have also climbed up to altitude. Once I find someone, I'll close in to around 8 to 7 miles where I'll fully lock onto them and fire off a 530D. This will give them little time to react, which should result in a kill more often than not. From there, continue to target anyone else at altitude before going down to help out your teammates down low. It's really just my typical playstyle for top tier. Just the combination of good climb rate, TWS, and the 530D makes this style a lot more viable on the Mirage 2000 compared to previous French jets. As for 1v1s, as I stated before, you want to force the fight into a one circle. If you can help it, having some altitude will be very useful, since having the ability to dunk your nose in a turn can help maintain your airspeed. If you get dragged down to the deck, you can quickly find yourself running out of energy despite the improved engine. Ideally, you want to kill them before they get that low. Generally, forcing them into a scissors fight can help do this, as you can quickly get behind most opponents. Once behind them, you can either gun them down or use your Magic 2s. Now, a special note about missile jousting an opponent, especially the F-14. With the AIM-7F and AIM-54, they will be able to outrange your 530D. Now, your 530D does out-accelerate both of them, and the 3 missiles have the same top speed, so if you're able to launch before or about at the same time as the Tomcat, you can expect your missile to hit first. You'll still need to offset and crank, so your closure rate is a little slower, giving yourself a better chance of dodging the missile, as well as allowing your own missile to get there and kill them first. Now, if they launch before you, it's best to just immediately go defensive and begin notching, while also dropping some chaff. You have to stay defensive until they are about to merge, which is when you pull into them to deny them a gun solution. Now, if they turn into you, they're basically a free kill now. They'll have a ton more speed and will quickly shoot out in front of you, making themselves an easy gun or magic kill. If they continue on, you can try to chase them down, but they're going to have a massive energy advantage over you and quickly zoom away. Just make sure they don't come after you, and then you can look for other targets. Now let's move on to the economy. The Mirage 2000C-S5 is a rank 7 battle rating 11.3 French fighter. To unlock this plane will require you to grind 410,000 RP, and to purchase it will require 1.1 million SL. Basic crew training cost is 310,000 SL. To expert the crew will cost an additional 1.1 million SL, and to gain the Ace qualification, you can either spend 3.4 thousand GE, or you can acquire it for free by grinding out 1.28 million RP while using the jet. If you want to throw a talisman on it, that's going to set you back 3.1 thousand GE. To speed the Mirage 2000 will require you to grind 526,000 RP and pay 480,000 SL. When fully spaded, the Mirage has an RP repair cost of 15,717 SL. Expensive, but nothing out of the ordinary for a top-end 11.3 fighter. As for modifiers, Mirage 2000 gets an SL modifier of 2.8 and an RP modifier of 2.5. As with the repair costs, these modifiers are right in line with other top-end fighters. Moving on to skins, there are currently 4 available for the Mirage 2000. The default one is alright, but nothing special, just a mix of blues, and in general I just think it's kind of bland. Next is the Desert skin, which you can unlock by killing 180 players in RB or paying 200 GE. This just replaces the blue of the default skin for 2 tones of tan. Again, nothing special, but at least you can get it for free. In my case, it actually unlocked on its own, and I didn't even have to get the 180 kills. I know a few others this has happened to, definitely a bug, but not sure if it's been fixed yet. The third skin can be acquired by getting 260 kills in RB or purchasing it for 280 GE. This is a really cool skin, and I think it's an airshow demonstration team, but I could be wrong about that, so if I am, just let me know in the comments. I tried looking up the EC-212 squadron, but didn't come up with much. Back to the skin, it's a really cool mix of blue and white with gold lines to separate the 2 colors, as well as gold being used as lettering on black backgrounds. Definitely a skin I would consider picking up with GE if you don't want to wait out the grind. The fourth and final is a marketplace skin that's currently going for $3.61 as of the writing of the script. This skin is based off of the camo of the first prototype Mirage 2000. I really love this skin. It's very glossy and just looks really slick when you get those cool reflections going off the white wings. When I'm not running user skins, this is what I default to. As always, you would have seen me using some user skins in the background footage, and if you're interested, I'll leave links to each of them in the description. Be sure to go support the creators that took the time to make these sweet, awesome free skins. Moving into the cockpit, one of the first things you will notice is the completely redesigned front panel that gives you a lot more visibility to the front compared to the Mirage 3s. You still retain solid visibility to the sides and top. As for rearward visibility, it's not that great, but if you're using head tracking or VR, you can lean to the sides to get a little better view of what's behind you. You also have a pretty wide mirror on the canopy bar to help see behind you. Moving back to the front panel, let's take a quick look through it, starting off on the bottom left. At the very bottom is the armament control panel, but this has no function in the game. The first set of dials above that does have a use though. The one on the left is your airspeed indicator in knots. In the middle is your altimeter that shows in feet. On the right is your standby ADI, and just above that is your primary ADI that also has a compass built into it. To the left of that is your vertical velocity indicator that shows in feet per minute. Then on the far left is some autopilot controls that again aren't functional in War Thunder. The last working gauge on the left panel is the AOA indicator that's hidden by the base of the HUD. To the left of that is a radio frequency repeater with the master caution lights above it, but those don't light up in War Thunder. As we move to the center panel, the only thing of note here is the radar screen. Personally, I wish it could have been moved up slightly higher, somehow at least, so you don't have to look so far down. Still, it's actually pretty easy to read, unlike other radars that are crammed into smaller screens. Moving on to the right panel, we'll start on the bottom left. Here is a weapons panel that's used for setting up release settings for your bombs and rockets, and the missile firing modes. In-game, this doesn't do anything. Speaking of instruments that don't do anything, just to the right of that we have our fuel gauges and our fuel flow indicator. Above that are a pair of engine gauges that actually do work. The RPM gauge is on the top, while the bottom is used for the engine exhaust temperature. Moving back down a level and to the left, we have the HSI. Effectively, this is only useful as a compass, as all of the other navigational functions aren't modeled in War Thunder. Above that is the RWR. This is actually a really nice place for it, as you don't have to tilt your head down to see it. Now, at the very top of the right panel, there is another gauge hidden by the HUD base. So if you lean over, you'll see your accelerometer that lets you see how many Gs you're pulling. And that's about it for that panel, so let's move up to the HUD. Starting on the middle left, we have a G meter, and above that we have our currently selected weapon. CAN stands for cannon, MAG is magic, and 530 is obviously for your 530s. It will swap to showing the latter two when you turn those missiles on. Moving to the left corner, we will find two airspeed indicators. The top one shows knots, while the bottom shows Mach. In the top middle, you'll find a compass. There's a little line that juts out from the bottom of the compass that is used to indicate your current heading. Behind that, we have the pitch scale in increments of 5 degrees. Now, the center is a big ol' mess, but I'll do my best to explain it. On the outside, there are a pair of chevrons. These are used to indicate acceleration. These do in fact work, and I'll throw up a chart I pulled from the DCS Mirage 2000 Chuck's Guide, so y'all can learn how to read it. Moving inward, we have the Pipper. This is gyro stabilized, but really isn't worth using to aim your guns. Instead, I would suggest using the flight path indicator, which is inside of the Pipper. This is basically the gun crosshair from third person view. Below that is a snake sight. This will show you the flight path of your bullets based on your motion. This can be helpful for aiming, but since there's no range indicators along the snake, it's still going to come down to guesswork on where to aim. Moving down, you will see a pair of matching numbers. These are your ammo indicators for each gun. Moving up to the top right, we have two altimeters. The top is your barometric altimeter and the bottom is your radar altimeter. Both use feet as a measurement. Alright, that about wraps everything up, so let's finish up by going over the pros and cons before ending with my final verdict, and then a little bit of channel admin. Starting off with the pros, I'm a pretty simple man. If a radar has a TWS mode, it's gonna be one of my favorites. Otherwise, the switch to PD over the MTI of the F1C's radar is a great improvement. Finally, the French get a CW type SAR, which is actually usable at top tier, and the all-aspect Magic 2 is just flat out amazing. Delta Wing aircraft are known for their exceptional nose authority, and the Mirage 2000 is no exception. And finally, the new engine is by far one of the best improvements over the Mirage 3. That extra power really makes a noticeable difference in the flight performance. Moving over to the cons, while the energy retention of the Mirage 2000 is improved over the previous Mirages, it's still a Delta Wing design. That means you will bleed speed quickly in turns. Only having 4 missiles really limits your overall effectiveness at this BR. It's gonna force you to make the few shots you do have count. And finally, the lackluster air-to-ground options means this isn't gonna be a plane that you'll want to use for ground pounding with only unguided bombs and rockets. In conclusion, the Mirage 2000 gives the French tech tree something worthwhile to grind for. While it isn't good enough to dethrone the F-14 as the top dog, the top-end flight performance and avionics paired with some of the best missiles in the game make this plane a credible contender for the runner-up slot. Little bit of channel admin here at the end, so I kinda went on an unannounced hiatus for a few months. For those who didn't see the community post, basically I got into playing some other games and took a break from War Thunder. I've taken breaks from War Thunder before, this is just the first one since I started the YouTube channel. Oh, I'm back now, and I do want to get back into a schedule of one War Thunder video a week. If I can get things worked out, I'd like to release videos on Saturday mornings, though this might take some finagling to get things onto that schedule, as this video is likely coming out on a Monday and Tuesday of this week. These scripted reviews and guides aren't the quickest things to make, just because I like to play about 75 to 100 games in a plane to spade it as well as getting a good feel for it. Then there's researching its development. It just takes time, but I don't want to end up cutting down on any of that. Ah, well, I'll figure something out. Maybe I might try giving my 2 cents about the future of the game if y'all are interested, since the 10-year anniversary is right around the corner. Anyways, I'm also thinking of branching out my content into some other games as well. Warno and Terra Invicta are the two I'm thinking about right now. A buddy that I play Warno with has a Twitch channel, and we're planning to run a co op campaign of the Army General mode when that releases. As for Terra Invicta, I'd like to start a series on that as well. Just gonna see what I'll have time for between work and keeping up a weekly War Thunder video. Anyways, I think I've rambled on enough for now. So, as always, thanks for watching, and I hope y'all have a wonderful day.